Day 12. Today's video is going to be a little different. We're not actually probably going to write any code. We'll see where it goes. But I want to walk you through actually getting your app deployed and just talk about kind of the Apple ecosystem. Tomorrow we'll do Android. The reason we're starting with Apple, it's a little bit more involved and takes a little bit longer to get the app actually deployed to your device, like your physical iPhone. So we're going to jump in with that and get started. Okay. So this is a site called App Store Connect. This is where you will go to actually deploy your application. Before you do that, you have to set up an Apple developer account. So if you go to developer.apple.com, account, you'll hit this site. If you don't have an Apple ID, you will create one. Otherwise, just log in with your Apple ID. So I've got this one that I want to use. This one that I want to use. Almost used the wrong one. And then I'm going to get a two-factor code. I'm going to type that in, but I'm going to mute my screen so you don't see my two-factor code. Okay. You'll be prompted to trust the browser, not trust, not now. I'm going to trust it. This is my personal laptop and my home IP address, so I'm not super worried. Okay. So you might have some agreements you need to accept. If you're creating a new account for the first time, you'll probably be taken through a wizard that gets you to fill out some stuff. You can see your membership details here. So mine is, oh, that address needs to be updated. That's not the right one anymore. But you can see your team ID, the program that you're enrolled in, whether you're an organization or anything, some other tools and nice little things that you can kind of work with. So once you've set up your account, you'll come back to App Store Connect. You will log in with the same account. This is probably the most important thing to keep aware of if you're an app developer in December. Apple does not oh, wait, are they changing it this year? May take longer. There were many years where Apple would not review apps like the week before Christmas. They wanted people opening new iPhones to pull up an app store and download apps that were vetted and already running, so people weren't accidentally downloading new stuff that like maybe wasn't as stable or as good as it could be. So now that you're here, you'll see some screens. You might have more agreements that you have to accept. We want to go to My Apps. It makes me think of the Black Eyed Peas song, My Humps, but My Apps. So we'll add a new app. We want iOS. We want to give this a name. The name that we chose was Philosopher's Stone. English is the language. Oh, sorry, my dog is here and she decided to shake. Choose a bundle ID. So we'll need to register a new bundle ID. And in fact, this actually can be slightly simplified if we use Xcode. So I'm actually going to go through the Xcode route and see if that makes it easier for us. So hold on before you create a certificate, identifier, or profile. So what we can do is we can pull up Xcode. And remember, this is Apple's IDE of choice. We have Philosopher's Stone already in here. We opened it the other day. So open it. And then we're going to do a couple different things. So the first one is, if we click on Runner over here, we click on Signing. We can give this a team. So I'm going to give it Pyre Studios. You will need to add an account and you'll sign in with your developer account, and that's where this list will show up. It gives it the bundle identifier that we provided. You can see that it's using a profile and a signing certificate. It's all good. Now what we want to do is in this drop down here, we'll change this to any iOS device. And then we're going to go click on Product, and we're going to click Archive. This is going to take a minute, but this is going to build our application as a, I think it's a .ipa file. Build failed. The sandbox is not in sync with the pod file lock. Run pod install or update your CocoaPods. Okay, let's do that. So if we go to Philosopher's Stone, cd iOS to change into the iOS directory, run pod install. Okay. I could not find a compatible version, out of date sources, so we probably want to run pod install repo update. Let this run really quick. And then once this runs, we'll try rebuilding our application. Could take a second. I don't remember, did we actually test our Crashlytics setup? I don't think we did. No, because I was installing the newest version of the iOS SDK. So maybe we'll test that too while we're here. In fact, that probably would be a good thing to do before we go too much further. Or we can test in prod, or not prod, but Testflight, which is the internal testing option that iOS ships with, or Apple ships for iOS. Man, this is taking a moment. Okay, so in the meantime, I know I said we probably weren't going to do anything code related. Oh, that's OBS, that's not Xcode. And iTerm. So I don't have much else to talk about at the moment, so I will talk about something completely unrelated to this project that I thought was kind of cool. So there is a new-ish JavaScript runtime called Bun that came out a couple months ago, and I switched a project of mine to Bun and simplified a lot of stuff. And then also it runs faster. My project was small, so much that like I can't really tell too much of a difference between the run speeds, but kind of cool that Bun is making things easier for me with like TypeScript support out of the box. Okay, so Xcode saying it failed to save Pod's Xcode project because there's a newer version outside of Xcode, so we'll hit read from disk. This will take a second. It's processing files, indexing, all sorts of fun stuff that IDEs do. And then once this completes, we will try to archive our application again. In fact, we can go ahead and click it, and I think it'll just wait for indexing to finish. Or maybe it'll run it asynchronously. So you can kind of see the steps here. There's 815 steps that it's recognized. We're on step 525 right now. It'll just take a minute. Also, I should warn you that I troubleshoot a lot right here. So the first time I'm doing like an actual build and deploy, it usually involves a lot of troubleshooting. This application is really simple, so maybe that won't be something I need to do, but we'll find out. So if you want to get information on the progress, you can click on this little icon right here. So indexing is paused, we are building. Looks like there's a couple more steps that are a little more involved, and it's taking the build tools a little bit longer to run. Xcode Cloud, I don't want to pay for that, thank you. All right, we'll let this finish. $800, almost there. Build succeeded. That's awesome. Okay, you'll get a pop-up that looks like this. You can see archives, you can see crashes, all sorts of other stuff. We don't really care about any of that right now, and I don't want you looking at all the crashes and logs that I have from other applications. So I'll click back into archives, and then I will hit distribute app. You'll get this little wizard that pops up, Testflight and App Store. If you never really want to publish this to the App Store and you just want to make it available to like your device, you would do Testflight internal only. So in our case, I'm going to hit this one because we'll walk through everything involved in publishing this application. Oh, we want to give this a name. We chose Philosopher's Stone. Okay. There's our SKU, primary language, bundle identifier. We'll hit create app record. And this is doing everything that we could do through the web view, but we're doing it through Xcode. So anything we could do through App Store Connect, we're choosing to let it be taken care of by Xcode. And this is nice because Xcode can actually look at the code that we're trying to upload and make sure that our certificates are managed properly and everything like that. It's just a little more automated than doing it from the web. It has to sign everything. This signs it with our ID to make sure that the version that we are sending to users matches our signing ID, and that's how they make sure that you're not necessarily pirating apps, but installing apps that are trying to appear to be other apps and trying to read their data or anything like that. So signing it makes it ours. These steps can take a moment, so we'll let them finish, but there's more to this wizard. There's a next button right here that we'll need to click in just a moment as well. While this is running, we don't really care about any of the content in this view, like what it's showing us right now. If you run into an error, we might, but I'm gonna go back to my terminal really quick so we can talk a little bit about pods. So I mentioned this a couple episodes ago, but pods are the dependency management tool for iOS, for Cocoa. They're called Cocoa pods. And if you look at your pod file, you can see that there's some stuff going on in here. You know what? Let's... Okay, get some syntax highlighting and some other nice stuff. So there's some Flutter stuff going on in here, some information about our project called Runner. And then there's information about the pod file setup. This is calling a Flutter plugin, Flutter function that sets up our pod file for us based on our Flutter modules. There is a chance you may have to come in here and modify the pod file on your own sometime. Most of the time, Flutter just takes care of it for you. But if you install a dependency that needs you to do this, it will tell you what to do, hopefully. Okay, so our app has been uploaded. We can monitor the status on App Store Connect. That's pretty cool. I'm going to click this little arrow and it's going to open App Store Connect. And then I'm going to go back here and hit done because we are done. I'm going to hit my apps, my lovely little apps. And we can see Philosopher's Stones right here. Okay, this is actually way easier. So fun fact, when I set up Luna Journal a long time ago, that Xcode thing was not available and you had to do it all through the web interface, and it was such a pain. So now that we're here, my goal today is to get us in Testflight, and then we can talk a little bit about what Testflight is. So we're going to start there. So to start collecting feedback about your app, create a group and invite testers. So we're going to create a group. This is going to be called Philosopher's Stone Testers. Yeah, we can keep this checked. There's information about what it does right there. So we have a group. We're going to add testers. I'm going to add myself. If you wanted to send this to your mom, you would add mom@gmail.com, your dad@gmail.com, your brother, whatever their name is, and their email address. You would add them to this. They would get an email. You'll see mine in just a second. I'll even pull up my email and we can look at it. And then it'll show you exactly how to install Testflight in that email and kind of get rolling with everything. So there are no builds available. So the reason there are no builds available is it's still processing this one that we just generated. So this will take not a long time, but also not a short time. So I'm going to pull up Gmail in the meantime. I'm also going to be smart about this because it's going to load my personal email first, and I will censor that. Okay, pull up my work email, or business email, I guess. Okay, there's a lot going on here in my email, but I think I can show all of this. Okay, so the main thing is this first one right here, App Store Connect. We found issues. Missing push notification entitlement. Your app appears to register with Apple push notification service, but the app signature entitlements do not include APS environment entitlement. If it uses push notification service, make sure your app ID is enabled for push notifications in the provisioning portal, and resubmit after signing your app with a distribution profile that includes APS environment. Xcode does not automatically manage this at build time. Behavior is intentional. To use this entitlement, either enable push notifications in the project editor's capabilities pane or manually add the entitlements to your entitlement file. I don't know if we actually need to do this because we're not using push notifications, we're using local notifications. So we'll try it as is, and then if we have an issue with this, we can come back and deal with it momentarily. I'm going to refresh this view in hopes that it's processed. It has. Okay. Compliance. You have to fill this out. You should understand everything that is said here, and if you do not understand, there's a Learn More link, and you should Google these things. This is the type of stuff that can get you in potential legal trouble. And the beauty of our application is it does not use any form of encryption unless you are using encrypted boxes. So if you chose to use encrypted boxes with Hive instead of LazyBox and just regular box, you do use some form of encryption, and you should follow Hive's recommendation on how to fill this out. In our case, we use none of the algorithms mentioned above. Read this on your own time. Now it says ready to submit. I can hit groups. Philosopher's Stone tester should be selectable, but for some reason it's not. So I'm going to refresh the page. And okay, I guess it did select it, it just didn't show it. App Store Connect is very, very old. It's very old software. So when we get to the Google Play console, you will be like, wow, this is so much better. Yes, it is. But this is what we're working with. Okay, so now we can go back to hopefully our email. Pyre Studios LLC has invited you to test Philosopher's Stone. So you're not Pyre Studios, this is my organization. So yours would say, like, if your name's Don Quixote, it would say Don Quixote has invited you to test Philosopher's Stone. This is also the same email that people will get if you were to add them as a tester. That app icon actually looks pretty good. So I'm going to try something. I think there's a way to mirror my screen on my Mac. Screen mirroring, MacBook Pro. Okay, cool. Hopefully this still works for the video. This will be quick. So if I pull up my inbox and search for Testflight, I pull this up, and the only reason I'm doing this is because this will launch it in Testflight on my device, and then I'll see something like this. If we added notes to test, they would show up here. You can look at the app details here, and then you can hit accept to install it. So I'm going to let this run. This should be a really quick install. Our application is very light, and we can see those details here. It's 23 megabytes, so that's not too shabby. That being said, it is a little big. So if you were to build this same thing like purely native, you would probably find a smaller app size. And it's just something to be aware of. One of the trade-offs with Flutter is that level of abstraction, and sometimes that means higher file sizes. The reason that's relevant is with Google Play, there's a limit of 150 megabytes that you can have for your file size for your application. Generally, this isn't too bad. I built a game. Oops, sorry about that. I built a game in Flutter, and with all the images and sounds and stuff, it was too big, so I had to come up with a solution for that, and that's a story for another time, but just something to be aware of. This is our application. I hit allow. We see that everything's loaded. Have I been made for this? To lie under the blankets and keep myself warm. And a friendly reminder, this is on my actual phone. This isn't a simulator, so this is, something I can take to, I'm going to meet a couple friends at a coffee shop, and, well, I guess after this video is over, I'm leaving. But I can take this and show them, and, we can, that's an interesting thing. Maybe we should fix that in a future video. If you hit review and there's nothing to review, it just gives you an empty little dialogue. What are your thoughts on this quote? Have I been made for this? To lie under the blankets and keep myself warm. That's actually a good one, and I'd like to reflect on that more. So I'm just going to put, I'd like to reflect on this more. Hit submit. Journal entry saved. There it is. Settings. I like notifications, so let's turn it on. Let's go back. Let's make sure those are still on. They are still on. That's great. Everything's good. We're playing around with our application on an actual phone. It looks pretty good. It looks better than it does in the simulator. And unfortunately, the text looks a little like what I'm seeing on my monitor as opposed to my phone. The text is a little grainy compared to what I'm seeing on my device. It actually looks really good on my device. And then the color of that orange is slightly different as well. So these are things that you probably just want to test out on multiple devices and make sure it's doing everything that you want it to do. Okay, so that's it. We have it on a device. We will do the same thing for Android tomorrow. And then the next thing we will do is go back to coding and actually fix some stuff. We had a really great suggestion from one of our commenters, Matthew, and he suggested that we do like a swipe to go back or swipe to go forward. So we'll probably do something like that too. And then shortly after that, we will talk about getting this actually deployed on the App Store, because the App Store and Testflight are two separate things. And then the Play Store, we'll talk more about tomorrow, but we'll be setting up the internal test track on the Play Store tomorrow, which is basically Testflight for the Play Store. Excuse me. And then there's a production track as well. And if you really want to get particular, the Play Store even has a thing called the beta track. Okay, that's it for today's video. Nice, short, sweet, and hopefully substantial, meaningful, impactful, all of the above. Thank you for hanging out with me and going through this video. Hopefully you're pretty happy with how the app's turning out and you're excited to show it off to some people. I know I am. And then don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications of new videos like this so you can keep learning and I can keep getting the opportunity to teach. And then let me know what your thoughts are, especially if you run into any issues with setting up the App Store account or anything like that. It's a little tedious. There's a lot of help out there online, but I'm also happy to read through comments and try to navigate those issues with you as well. I think that's it. One more thing. I found this out earlier today. This is really random and not related to this at all, but I thought it was pretty cool. So if I lean back and go like this, yeah. That apparently shipped on the latest version of Mac a while ago, and I just found out about it accidentally today when I was trying to set up my recording environment for this video. Anyways, have a great Wednesday, December 13th. Toodles.